prouder to have all of you here to experience that. I'd love to give you a few stats before I pass the microphone along to our MC for this press conference. I'll start with our volunteers. Atlanta Track Club is 55 years old, and we would not exist without volunteers. There will be 4,000 volunteers who will dedicate their days, their minutes, their hours over these next few days to ensuring that everyone has a world-class experience here in Running City, USA. I would say that women are overachieving. We've got some great men in the Olympic trials, marathon on Saturday, but when I look at the field and I see that the women's field is twice as large as 2016, so twice as many athletes. And then when I look at the top of that list, I recognize that there are 19 women that have run faster than the top 10 women in 2016, and 2016 was the deepest field we ever had. So we expect to see some incredible performances out there on Saturday afternoon. My last stat, by Sunday afternoon at 2 o'clock, we will have had more than 15,000 people run up and down the streets, the communities, and neighborhoods of Atlanta, and in total we'll cover 175,000 miles. This event could not happen without the support of the City of Atlanta. We work with the City of Atlanta on another event called the AJC Peachtree Road Race. That is the world's largest 10K. This is something entirely different, and shutting down Running City USA at noon on a Saturday afternoon is a significant commitment of the City of Atlanta and our, what I would like to call our Chief Running Officer, Mayor Keisha Lance Bottoms. As I turn the microphone over to Jay Holder, our moderator, I'd like to leave you with this. Atlanta has an Olympic legacy. We were the home of the '96 Games, as most of you know. On Saturday at noon, as our athletes are ready to toe the line, the Olympic cauldron from 1996 will be relit for the first time since Muhammad Ali did that back in the summer of 1996. That is what this Olympic Trials Marathon, this Running City USA means to Atlanta, and this America's Marathon weekend will look like. And with that, I'll pass the microphone along to Jay so we can start to meet the stars of this weekend. Thank you for being here.
Thank you, Rich. Well, as Rich said, this weekend was built on the belief that what happens here over these next couple of days inspires and excites the next generation of runners, jumpers, and throwers. That's why as we lead up to race day, you will see youth athletes front and center. This, in many ways, is our opening act. Tomorrow afternoon, a pro-am competition will put high school stars on a team with the world's best shot putters and high jumpers. Tomorrow night, a nighttime track meet will feature more than 30 teams, and on Saturday, many of those teams will take part in a 4x1 mile relay, utilizing the trials and start and finish lines. Then they'll go out on the course where they'll have cheer zones for Olympic hopefuls they've been interacting with for the past few weeks. Finally, a performance tomorrow from a quartet who not only excel at track and field, but at singing as well. I want to welcome Hannah Goggins, Taryn Stevenson, Juno Adams, and Rashawn McKelvey-Flood, along with their coach and choir director, Valerie Missick. These students from Coretta Scott King Young Women's Academy and Best Academy will be performing our national anthem tomorrow. On Saturday, I'm moving the trials up a day. That's the big news here on Saturday. And I just want to ask you a couple questions, and I don't want you to lose your voice here, so we'll keep it short. Is this the biggest stage on Saturday, the biggest stage you've ever performed on?
Yes, it's the biggest stage because this will be the first time we have ever performed together.
You've never performed together? No. We're going to see a debut?
Yes.
All right, well, okay. In that case, well, first let me ask you something, coach and choir director. So as a cross-country and track and field coach and a choir director, any of the drills that you use for choir practice, do you bring them to track practice as well?
Yes, we do. As a matter of fact, on both of them, we have to work together as a team. We have many different parts moving separately, and we've got to bring them all together.
All right. Well, I'm going to put you on the spot. Saturday, we're singing the national anthem, but can we get a couple bars of one of your favorite songs now?
Do y'all want to do California Dreaming? Yes. Yeah, come on.
One, two, ready, and all the leaves are brown, and the sky is gray. I went for a walk on a winter's day. I'll be safe and warm if I was in LA. California dreaming on such a winter's day. On such a winter's day. On such a winter's day. Ooh.
All right. While you guys are still up here, I want to welcome the person Rich earlier referred to as our Chief Running Officer, the Mayor of the City of Atlanta, Mayor Keisha Lance Bottoms. Ms. Mayor, if we can get a picture of you with the quartet.
Picture first.
Yeah, picture first.
Okay. Let's take that picture. Well, good afternoon to all of you all. In my head, I'm a runner. I used to do a very fast trot, and I have a tore meniscus, and then I got a little older, and so now just do a very brisk walk. But congratulations to all of the Olympic hopefuls who are here today. This is very exciting, as I've had the great pleasure of traveling around the world. There are three things that always come up when people internationally speak of Atlanta. One is Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. The second is Gone with the Wind. And the third are the Olympics. And so there is a very long and rich history in this city, and so it's only fitting that we celebrate you today as we begin the Olympic marathon trials. This is a showcase that we know the entire world will be watching our great city. I'm grateful for the partnership of the Atlanta Track Club and to all of you all, and just to celebrate Atlanta as a city that is a vibrant city, but also a place that things happen that are recognized and celebrated throughout the world. And this is yet another event. So thank you. Congratulations to you all. Our fingers are crossed that we will continue to have great, bright, sunny weather. And maybe next year, maybe I'll be back. Thank you.
And Mayor Bottoms, I know you're not in the race, but we still want to give you your own bib. If you do show up at the start line, we'll let you in.
Well, thank you. And I'll just tell you one other story. In 1996, I came really close to participating in the Olympics. And the torch was being run down Fairburn Road in southwest Atlanta. And I broke the line and I ran along with the torch. So that was as close as I came.
Closer than a lot of us.
That's all right. And it's really ironic that torch is now in the mayor's office. So life always has surprises for you. Thank you all.
All right. Well, more than 700 athletes qualified for the 2020 U.S. Olympic Team Trials Marathon, and we just let another one in. On Saturday, we will all witness the largest trials marathon in American history. Based on the field, it promises to be the most exciting one, too. ending, of course, with the 3 men and 3 women who will represent Team USA in Tokyo. We invited the top 5 fastest qualifiers to join us today, and we're excited to welcome those who accepted the invitation to the stage. We want to bring up our women first, the course record holder for the Grandma's Marathon with Olympic trials qualifying time of 2:24:29. Please welcome Kellen Taylor. She's a 2-time NCAA champion in the U.S. and the U.S. 5,000 meter and 10K champion with Olympic trials qualifying time of 2:23:08. Please welcome Emily Sisson. She ran the fastest women's time in 2019, and this is her 5th Olympic trials. She's run a time of 2:22:16. Welcome Sarah Hall. She's represented the United States twice in the Olympic marathon. If she makes the top 3 on Saturday, she'll be the first woman in history to represent the U.S. 3 times in the marathon. She's the 2018 Boston Marathon champion. Welcome Des Linden. All right, I want to talk about how this format's going to go. So all of these athletes are going to be available for roundtables in that room right up there. We'll show you how to get there after this press conference. But we've got some special journalists in our front row. We've got 13 high school athletes that we invited here, track and field athletes, some milers, some distance runners, some 800-meter runners, and they're going to ask the questions today, the athletes. They're going to ask the questions of their favorite athletes. They sent these in, and we're going to start with Hayden Marshall from Milton High School, who's got a question for Des Linden. Hayden?
So what have been some of your biggest challenges in training while preparing for the Olympic trials here in Atlanta, and how have you overcome them?
And there was no easing into this, just right with the heavy hitters. Any marathon is a challenge. Getting ready for it is just ups and downs, and this is going to be my 20th, so super familiar with it. Came off the New York City Marathon pretty well, and then just had some posture stuff that wasn't quite right, so I wasn't able to hit my splits early on in the segment as well as I wanted to. Was able to work through that and build into things just fine. Had great momentum, and this winter is flu season, so I caught one of those. Super exciting, but missed only 1 day of training and bounced back really well and was able to just keep rolling into it. So certainly ups and downs through the segment, but that's pretty traditional of any build-up. So I think it's all trending in the right direction, and I'm excited to see what it all means.
Our next question is for Kellen Taylor. It comes from Sully Shelton from Harrison High School.
So my question is, during the hardest stage of the race, what are the top 3 things that go through your mind, and how do you fight them?
I mean, I feel like a marathon, you're kind of constantly going through the motions of how you feel. Sometimes you feel great, and then, a mile later you can be like, oh man, I'm not going to finish this thing. But for me, I think the biggest thing is just remembering to go mile by mile. Keep putting one foot in front of the other. Keep chipping away, and eventually, you're 10 miles in, 12 miles in, 20 miles in, and then eventually, you're so close that there's nothing that you can do but push until you get to the finish.
We've got a question for Emily Sisson from Kathleen Shellman from the Marist School.
Emily, as your experience as a professional marathoner grows, do you find yourself implementing certain phrases or mantras during hard workouts or when a race becomes challenging?
Yes, definitely. I find during the good parts, but also more importantly, during the parts where I'm maybe going through a rough patch in a race, I don't use one mantra over and over. I just try to think of something positive in that moment. In my last marathon, I remember I wasn't feeling super great early on, but I tried to point out things that were going well. And I'm like, you feel strong, your training's been going well, you're moving well, just keep focusing on 1 mile at a time. Don't get too far ahead of yourself. And at the end of the race, I'm like, okay, pump your arms, lift your knees, something positive. Just get to the next water bottle. Those are all things I use. So anything positive and encouraging, I recommend.
For Sarah Hall, a question from one of your Instagram followers, one of your many, Jack Lloyd, also from Marist School.
Hello. as you mentioned on your Instagram a month ago, you mentioned that you've been taking risks and doing some creative outside the box thinking for your training. What are some of those things, and how do you think they've helped you?
Well, I'm not going to give away my secret sauce here in front of all my competitors, but it was a lot of stuff in the gym for sure. Stuff with cross training and just getting my quads as strong as possible and glutes to just withstand all the hills out here in Atlanta. And I found that was helping even my flat running, just putting a lot more power in my stride. So we'll see how it fares on Saturday.
We'll take one last question. It's for our two-time Olympian on the stage. This question for Des from Audrey Nichols from Milton High School.
So what single workout made you feel like you were the most prepared for this race and like fit enough for this race?
You guys are tough. That's tough. I think coming off of the sickness and really getting into the rhythm again, I did an 8-mile tempo. I wasn't 100% yet, but I found this really hilly route in Phoenix and was able to just lock into the right effort and then check the time afterwards kind of, and it was about 8 miles at averaging about 5:25 pace. So I felt really confident with that, and I knew I was going to kind of move forward from there, just coming off of that sickness and getting better each day, really. So I felt like that was really encouraging, and hopefully it, translates to this course. And yeah, but it was a good sign at the time.
Again, we invite all credentialed media to join us in room A309 after this press conference for roundtables with the athletes. But for now, we're going to get a picture of our 4 top contenders, and then we'll bring our high school journalists up on the stage for a picture as well. So if you guys could just come to the front of the stage. And come up this way. One more time for our top women contenders. All right, now we're going to meet some of the men's team. All right. Mayor's gone? Okay. All right. We start with a 4-time world champion, a man who holds American records in the 1,500 meters, 3,000 meters, and 5,000 meters. He ran a time of 2:12:10. Let's welcome Bernard Kip Lagat. All right. He was the top American in the 2019 Bank of America Chicago Marathon, running a blistering fast new PR of 2:10:36. Welcome, Jake Riley. All right. Our returning Olympian was 6th at the 2016 Rio Olympics. At the 2019 TCS New York City Marathon, he was the top American, running a time of 2:09:25 to qualify for the trials this year. Jared Ward. He was the top American at the 2019 Boston Marathon, running a time of 2:09:09. Welcome, Scott Fauble. and a 2016 Olympian in the 10,000 meters. He ran the fastest marathon debut in American history, running 2:07:56. Welcome, Sergeant Leonard Career. All right. Our high school journalists are at the ready, and we're going to begin with a question for Bernard Legat from Celia Camp from Alexander High School.
What have been your go-to workouts that have attributed to the success and longevity of your career?
Thank you very much for the question. My go-to workout is mostly the tempo runs. I like doing a faster 6-mile tempo, and now that I'm training for the marathon, I can go up to 10, and sometimes just add a little bit, but not too many. So when I test myself in a tempo run and I run really good, beat the time that I've run before, then I feel like I'm in good shape, and that tells me a lot about what I've been doing. So thank you for the question.
We've got a question for Jared Ward from Zach Bobak from Linden Academy.
So, what would have to be your favorite running memory?
Oh, Zach, my favorite running memory. One of them, there's a lot of them. I have one from high school. On the distance medley team, I wasn't an 800-meter runner, and I think back to high school, but I think my favorite memory was going to the World Half Marathon Championships in 2016. It was in Cardiff, Wales, and I ran not very good, but I took my wife with me, and we had such a fun time in Cardiff that that's still one of my favorite race memories.
Question for Jacob Riley up next. Grace Ellsworth from Hillgrove High School. Grace?
Can you talk a little bit about the mental and physical resiliency you've shown getting back from a Achilles surgery and a few other tough spots and going back to the line in the 2020 trials?
Yeah. I feel like those other ones are a little bit easier. I think a lot of it just has to do with knowing that there were still things I wanted to get out of the sport, and I think for a long time there I was also coasting a little bit on inertia, so I just had been doing this for a really long time, and to continue to do it, I just kind of kept some habits, and a lot of other things were changing in my life, so I could kind of rely on training, and even if it wasn't really training, rehab is a similar idea, and I could kind of just keep going through that, and it was something I could focus on to get through other tough stuff. And then Desi has a nice quote, kind of about the same thing, just keep showing up, and so I thought about that quite a lot as I was continually feeling out of shape and sore, and runs were hurting, and I was having setbacks, and I don't know, I figured if I just kept banging my head against a wall long enough, it would eventually turn things around, and I had some really supportive people in my corner that were assuring me that it would turn around, and so eventually it did, which I don't know if that's super helpful because it was a very long, open-ended process, but I guess if you're willing to put in the time, it should eventually turn around.
We have a non-burrito related question for Scott Fauble. Comes from Sierra Wernberg from Hillgrove High School. Sierra?
How has your experience training with high-performing teammates affected your individual training and mindset towards your races?
Are you sure you don't want to ask a burrito-related question? Because I'd be happy to answer it.
I mean...
The high-performing teammates one's great. Well, you know, I mean, it's a humbling experience sometimes, especially when you've got teammates as good as Kellen, who was up here earlier, but also Alfine Tulyamuk and Steph Bruce on the women's side. And it doesn't let you get up on your own high horse. If you have a good workout, it's likely that one of those three will blow their own workout out of the water. And it reminds me how good the rest of the field, everyone else I'm going to race is going to be, because you know, the field on Saturday is going to be really, really good. And so surrounding yourself with really, really good people, I think kind of prepares you for that and keeps you in the mindset of like, oh yeah, this is, you know, this is a race. This is going to be really hard. And no matter how well I'm doing in a workout, it's likely that someone else is having just as good, if not a better day.
Another question, a question for Lenny Career from Reese Cotto from West Forsyth. Reese?
Looking back at your early running career, what do you think has helped you the most to be successful going into college or going to the next level?
Question is, looking back at your early running career, what do you think has helped you the most back in those early days to help you be successful now?
Thank you for the question. First of all, I want to thank my Army leadership for giving me the opportunity to come run in the Olympic marathon trial. So I'm so excited. I'm happy. For your question, I would say staying healthy. I've been trying to stay healthy for a long time, so that I can be able to train. I need to stay healthy. Maybe I need to keep training, going to work every day, trying to improve and get better. And then I think that's something which has been helping me so that I can stay in the game for a long time. Thank you.
All right, Lenny. Another question for Bernard Legat from Addie Taylor from Decatur High School. Addie?
So at 45, you will be the oldest person in the men's race, and if you qualify, you will be going to your 6th Olympics, which would be the most of anyone in track and field. So what is the pressure like for you, and how do you feel to be the oldest person in the race?
Boom.
Okay. So I'm going to go back, start with the last question first. How does it feel to be the older one? I feel like I'm actually wiser than all these guys because I'm older, right? But no, seriously, it feels really good to be, to have been in sport for a long time, to have competed for, since 2000, my first Olympics. I'm sure some of you are not even born. Some of you guys, I'm same age as your mom or your dad. So I'm really wearing everything right now as a dad, as a experienced competitor, as an older one. And so I think I'm going to bring in that mentality of, well, I've been here for a long time, and I'm going to use that as the experience that I've gained over the years in terms of competing with these amazing athletes over here. And the next question, what was it again? Sorry.
Can you get her mic?
How do you deal with the pressure?
Oh, yes. How do I deal with the pressure? It is putting the work in there. I've made sure that every single time I appear in a race, I'm always prepared. So if I'm prepared coming in, then, it's easier really to feel that pressure. But then when you think of, I've done the work that is enough and good enough to kind of get me to the finish line, then, that pressure really goes away. And right now I have 2 kids that, they don't let me get off easy. So if I feel like, I'm bragging a little bit, man, I did that workout, like, hey, be careful. Just keep working. Just do your work. And then so that humbles me a little bit. And then I feel like with the experience that I've had for a long time, I can use that in a race day. So that is what I'm going to be using on Saturday. And, and knowing that all these guys are amazing and, what they do is marathon. And I'm still learning the event myself. So I think that is going to be something I'm going to rely on is the experience that I've had in, running in track and coming into the marathons recently.
Thank you for those words of wisdom. Final question for Jared Ward is from Faith Boback from Linden Academy. Faith?
I was wondering, since this weekend is such a big race, if you get nervous, and if you do, how do you control those nerves?
That's a good question, Faith. Yeah, I do get nervous. And I feel like I've gotten better, or at least more accustomed to the pre-race nerves as time has passed. So I get less nervous now than I used to. But my wife started saying towards the end of last week, she said, I'm just so excited for February 29th because whether you make this team or not, it's going to be over. And I think, I was starting to feel that last week. And it's been good to be back in the rhythm of pre-race, out staying in a hotel. The race is 2 days away. I'm kind of in a rhythm that I'm used to and not just thinking about the race. But I think that that's the key to managing anxiety, is to not get too far ahead of yourself in what you're thinking about. I worked with a sports psychologist at BYU named Craig Manning, and he would say, fear and anxiety live in the future. Those emotions don't exist in the present. And so that kind of became a cue to me to, when I start feeling fear and anxiety, to think, okay, I got to get my mind back to the present. So if I'm thinking about the start of the race, I need to think, well, what am I doing right now? Well, I'm staying hydrated, I'm staying off my feet, I'm fueling, whatever it may be, and focus on what I'm doing right now that's going to help the future, as opposed to worrying about what might or might not happen in the future.
I hope all of you took notes, because we expect to see you up on this stage in 2028, maybe? 2028 trials? We want to thank our men's top competitors for being here today. We're going to line them up for a photo with their bibs, and then after their photo, we'll bring the high school journalists back up. A reminder that we will be doing roundtables for media outlets up in the room A309. It's just at the top of the escalator and to the right. We hope to see all of you out on the course on February 29th. The race starts men at 12:08. Women's race starts at 12:20. And if you can't make it out on the course, it's on NBC starting at 12 o'clock. That's 11 Alive here in Atlanta, WXIA. Thanks, and we'll see you on Saturday.